The New Mexico Territory in 1882 was a land of endless horizons and merciless truths, where the sun scorched the earth by day and the stars mocked with their cold indifference by night. Dalton Keane, a rancher of 38, had carved out a solitary existence on a sprawling spread near the Pecos River. His ranch, a patchwork of dusty pastures and weathered fences, was home to a modest herd of cattle and a cabin that creaked under the weight of loneliness. Dalton was a broad-shouldered man, his face etched with lines from years under the sun, his blue eyes dulled by a grief he rarely spoke of. 3 years prior, a doctor in Santa Fe had delivered the blow. A childhood injury had left him unable to father children. The news shattered the dreams he'd once held of a family to fill the empty rooms of his heart and home. Dalton's days were filled with the rhythm of ranch life, mending fences, driving cattle, and nursing a bottle of whiskey when the silence grew too heavy. He avoided town, save for the occasional trip to Las Vegas, New Mexico, where he'd sell beef and lose himself in poker games at the Dusty Spur Saloon. It was there, on a sweltering July night, that fate dealt him a hand he never expected. The saloon was alive with the clink of glasses and the murmur of gamblers. Dalton, nursing a losing streak, sat at a table with a motley crew, a prospector, a cattle baron, and a slick Mexican trader named Vicente Morales. Vicente, with his oiled mustache and sharp eyes, had been winning all night, his pile of coins glinting under the lantern light. As the stakes climbed, Vicente tossed a crumpled paper onto the table. "This," he said, smirking, "is worth more than gold. A contract. My servant, Esperanza. Young, strong, good worker. I'll wager her against your ranch." The table fell silent. Dalton's gut churned. Betting a person? It was barbaric, even for the frontier. Yet the whiskey in his veins and the desperation to salvage his pride clouded his judgment. He glanced at the deed to his ranch, his only asset. "Call," he said, voice low, tossing it in. The cards fell. Dalton's full house trumped Vicente's flush. The trader cursed, shoving the contract across the table. "She's yours, gringo. Good luck, she's trouble." Dalton pocketed the paper, unease settling like dust. He rode home under a starlit sky, the contract burning a hole in his coat. At dawn, he hitched his wagon and headed to Vicente's camp, a cluster of tents 10 miles south. There, he found her, Esperanza, a woman of perhaps 20, with dark hair cascading in waves, brown eyes fierce with defiance, and a faded rebozo wrapped around her shoulders. Her wrist, "You're free now," Dalton said, cutting her ropes. "I ain't your master." She studied him, wary. "Then why take me?" "Won the bet. Didn't plan on keepin' you. I'll find you a place, somewhere safe." Esperanza's gaze hardened. "I don't need your pity, senor. I survive alone." Dalton admired her fire but saw the exhaustion in her posture. "Come to my ranch. Rest a spell. Then decide." She hesitated, then nodded, climbing into the wagon. The ride was silent, the desert stretching vast around them. At the ranch, Dalton offered her the spare room, once meant for a child he'd never have. Esperanza accepted warily, her eyes scanning every corner as if expecting a trap. Over days, she proved her worth, cooking, mending, even helping with the cattle. Her hands were quick, her Spanish lilt softening the cabin's silence. But she guarded her past like a locked chest, deflecting Dalton's questions with shrugs. One evening, as they sat by the hearth, Esperanza's rebozo slipped, revealing a leather pouch tied to her waist. She clutched it, eyes flashing. "Don't ask," she warned. Dalton raised his hands. "Your business, not mine." But curiosity gnawed. What was she hiding? The answer came violently. A week later, hoofbeats thundered at midnight. Dalton grabbed his rifle, peering through the window. 5 riders, led by Vicente, circled the ranch, torches blazing. "Give her up, Keane." Vicente shouted. She stole from me. Esperanza appeared, her face pale but resolute. He lies. I took nothing he didn't owe me. Dalton barred the door, rifle ready. Speak plain, woman. What's this about? She untied the pouch, spilling its contents, a gold locket, a folded letter, and a small key. My mother's. Vicente was her master. She died working his fields. This locket holds her picture, and proof he cheated her family out of land in Mexico. I took it when I escaped. Dalton's jaw tightened. Land theft was common, but this was personal. Why's he so desperate for it? The letter names witnesses. If it reaches a judge, he loses everything. Vicente's men fired a warning shot, splintering the porch. Dalton returned fire, grazing a horse. Stay low, he told Esperanza. The word slipped out, surprising them both. Esperanza's gaze softened, but fear lingered. He'll come back. I need to get this to a judge in Santa Fe. Then we go together, Dalton said. But first, we prepare. They fortified the ranch, boarding windows and stockpiling supplies. Dalton taught Esperanza to shoot better, her hands steadying under his guidance. She shared stories of her mother, Maria, a woman of laughter and strength who dreamed of reclaiming her family's land. Dalton, in turn, confessed his own loss, the barren future he'd mourned. Thought my life was done, he said one night, the fire crackling. Then you showed up. Esperanza smiled faintly. Destiny plays tricks, senor. Their bond deepened, not as master and servant, but as equals. One evening, as they repaired a fence under a crimson sunset, Esperanza touched his arm. You're not what I expected, Dalton. He chuckled, warmth spreading. Nor you, Esperanza. The attack came a week later, under a moonless sky. Vicente's men, now 10 strong, stormed the ranch with torches and dynamite. Dalton and Esperanza fought back, using the terrain, ditches and corrals, for cover. A stick of dynamite exploded near the barn, spooking the cattle into a stampede. Dalton seized the chaos, driving the herd toward the attackers, scattering them. Esperanza, perched on the roof, picked off 2 with precise shots. Vicente, enraged, charged the cabin. Dalton tackled him, fists flying. Esperanza swung a shovel, knocking Vicente out cold. As dawn broke, the surviving attackers fled, leaving their leader bound. Dalton sent for the sheriff, who arrived with a posse. The letter in Esperanza's pouch proved Vicente's crimes, land fraud, extortion, even murder. He was hauled to Santa Fe for trial. With Vicente gone, Dalton and Esperanza faced a choice. She could reclaim her family's land in Mexico, but the ranch had become home. Stay, Dalton said, voice rough with hope. This place needs you. I need you. Esperanza studied the horizon, then him. Not as a servant. As family, he said. Maybe, more. She nodded, tears glinting. They rebuilt the ranch, stronger than before. Esperanza planted a garden, her mother's locket on a chain around her neck. Dalton, once adrift, found purpose in their shared work. By 1885, the ranch thrived, a haven for drifters and orphans they took in, building a family not of blood but